Grandmama used to pray, oh Lord, please save them from the evil snares and all the dangers that entangle. Yea, though they walking through the valley of the shadows, just prepare and make them fit for every battle, because I know they bound to come, and I know they bound to fall, but in your bounty, Lord, preserve their beautiful. Right, we still surviving off of grandma's prayers, surrounded by the jungle and the lion's den. Tread light, cause these traps is inconspicuous. They hide right in plain sight, thinking we don't see them when they linger. Look right beneath the surface, then leave a trail of corpses. Crisis, prices, your life a disposable commodity. Like living in this fantasy, conditioned to believe that the system even cares whether selling CDs or walking or driving or reading. Look, they don't even need a reason. It's just you breathing and being black. When it's such a pretty fall, it don't seem like we falling at all, at all. It's just a GMO dream, where things are never really what they seem. Please cue the violins, tell them just to play me something pretty, cause this gritty city got me screaming bloody murder. Said it got me screaming. This gritty city got me on some. Look, get your hand up on my pocket. Distraction, so lazy they use the same tactics. Like condom with some trinkets, just don't let them get to thinking. That light bulb gets a blinking. You know niggas and ideas. Oh dear, my dear, you may not know me, but I know you very well. Foresight, they say hindsight is 2020. Well, tell me something, we gotta see that history is on repeat. And maybe it takes a beat and a melody to speak a little louder than the message in the clouds or the essence in the air. I swear, my God is just so clear that a system driven by fear can never give us nothing but more of the same things. Oh, when it's such a pretty fall, it don't seem like we falling at all. It's just a GMO dream, where things are never really what they seem. Please cue the violins, tell them just to play me something pretty, cause this gritty city got me screaming. It's murder. Got me screaming, got me. This gritty city got me on some.
1 2 1 2. What's going on? Welcome, RSTV. We're in the building. Black Power Media. We are here tonight. Yes, gratitude. Good to see you, good people out here on this Tuesday night. I'm literally just running. Finally made it here. I'm like, I'm not going to be on time. Folks going to be waiting and all that good stuff. But I'm here, so good to see you all. Tonight, the music, intro music. Shout out to my dear sister, Sonny Patterson. If you all do not know who Sonny Patterson is, go get a late pass. I would dare say she is the poet laureate of our particular movement for this particular era. That's what I would jump out there and say. So definitely shout out to Sonny Patterson for the dope lyrics in the beginning. It's been a long day, a very, 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 very long day. And I wanted to bring on some flavor. A lot of times the shows are very serious here at BPM. And sometimes I miss that some of that renegade culture flavor. You know what I'm saying? That was the good old days. You know what I mean? But those days are long gone. But anyway, we have RSTV on here tonight. And I wanted to bring on a brother who recently, he's had his own show for years, but recently he's officially joined the Black Power Media family. He co-hosts EYL, Earn Your Liberation, on Fridays with Dr. Jared Ball and my man Geechee Motivator. Shout out to them. And he has his own official show now on Wednesday nights. I know it was the Bro Diallo show. I can't think of what the new name is. Forgive me for that. But he gonna let you know in a minute. So, without further ado, he don't need no real introduction. You know what I mean? Because tonight we're going to find out just who the fuck is Diallo. So, ladies and gentlemen, what's going on, Diallo?
Good evening, brother. How's it going?
Man, we're live on arrival.
Good. All
we are
right, no
here.
technical difficulties. That's unfamiliar to me.
I know. I'm sitting there. I was going to send you a message like, look, man, before you come on, because I saw a couple of your shows and whatnot, and you come on like Helen Keller's son or Stevie Wonder or some shit. Like you can't hear, you can't talk.
It's fine because I could just pretend like it's the feds, like I'm more of a threat to the system than other people, and that's why they hindering my my
That's what it is.
technology.
You play it off, no
Yeah,
doubt, no
yeah,
doubt.
COINTEL prototype. Yeah, that's
Yes,
what every revolutionary that has any trouble, you get a
everybody.
flat tire. Oh, it's the
But
feds.
I mean, with some of these
It's
cats,
the Illuminati trying to stop me, control my mind, soul, and my body.
I see you about to start some shit early in the day.
No, that's just what. Hey, that's our out.
No doubt,
My
no
wife
doubt.
be like, cut the grass. I'd be like, oh yeah, Illuminati, the
They got a hit
feds.
on me. Yeah.
I can't just be out there like that.
They messed up the sun today. I can't cut the
Right.
grass. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
So
a good
this is
go-to.
our
I mean, they
official.
blame everything on black people. About time we can blame stuff on them too.
It's a beautiful thing, man.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? So this is our first time on the screen together. Legit.
Yeah.
I think we had invited you on. I invited you on Renegade Culture some years ago, and I messed around and got COVID. So that
I remember that interview. Yeah.
Yeah,
and I was wondering, like, why wasn't you there? Because everybody else was there.
Matter of fact, I think even Jared was there.
Yeah. The new show is actually now called now I forgot. Now you Rational Radical.
See?
Rational Radical show. Sorry.
I'm glad you remember.
The Wednesday show.
I made you forget.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So y'all see what kind of show this is about to be tonight. You know what I mean? So I'm honored to have Diallo on. Diallo actually makes me look sane, I was told.
Damn.
That works for me. You know what I mean? So, but definitely I appreciate what you bring to the platform. I think the piece with earn your leisure, earn your liberation. Jared, kill me if I say earn your leisure. Earn your liberation is definitely a good combination. I remember the first one that I saw you on, and you had Jared's head so confused. He was like, Diallo, are you serious right now? It was like shit.
Yeah, I'm happy to bring some calm, reasoned arguments to that show. Geechee and Jared. I'm glad I'm able to sit here and talk about them where they can't defend themselves, because I just be trying to get us back on the rational reason path.
That's what it is?
Yeah.
See, they be trying to throw you off course, huh?
Yeah. Well, they be throwing it. I be trying to bring them back. I stay on the square. I'm just trying to keep them in the.
You trying to keep it positive.
Exactly.
Trying to keep it positive. We appreciate that, man. We know Jared and Geechee, they be losing it sometime, man. Here it is. You trying to bring some calm. This brother comes in as a vegan, a plant lover. I mean,
tree hugger.
Yeah, tree hugger.
Exactly.
Non-violent. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
And they try to mess up the program.
Exactly. I'm glad somebody sees it other than me.
I see it, brother. People. I took my glasses off so I could see it. Yes, definitely tricknology. But anyway,
I thought they stopped doing tricknology in the 90s, but it's still with us.
It's that Morgan State, man. Shout out to Dr. Ball. I know he's gonna have some things to say about me bigging up his co-host. So for folks that don't know, because I think that sometimes, we get on these platforms and they think that the first time that they saw us was the first time we existed. Shout out to your homie Shirley. She said 2 delusional brothers. I take it she's talking about Geechee and Dr. Ball. Don't do our brothers like that.
But don't be like, we keep them in your prayers.
Keep them in the prayers. That's
positive vibrations.
You know what I'm saying? Diallo, the resident atheist.
But they're my dudes. They're my dudes.
Yes, no doubt. But anyway, for folks who don't know who you are, let's get some upbringing, man. Where do you come from? Did you, are you from Chicago?
No, I'm not from Chicago. I was actually born and raised in Kansas City, Missouri. Okay. I grew up in East Hills Village Housing Project. Shout out to the Village Boys. Shout out to Rip the Crip, Jeff Daw,
Okay.
OGs. I came up there in the housing project during the height of the crack epidemic,
Okay.
and the rise of gangs. It was funny to me when I was always a big BDP fan, and that song, "The Girlies Are Free," because the crack costs money. Oh
Oh
yeah.
yeah.
When I first heard that song, I had no idea what crack was. I didn't know.
You
I
just singing
had
it.
no. Yeah, I thought it was like the butt crack or something. I was like, had no idea. And within a year of hearing that song, it's like my community was flooded with crack cocaine gangs. It went from having crews in my neighborhood that used to fight and scrap, for territory on the basketball court to, military grade weapons being used. So that's why kind of where I came up in the boys in the hood type shit. But
Okay.
I represented the majority, where the dudes who didn't jump off the porch, who didn't join the gang, who didn't have to sling rocks and all
Right.
that. So I stayed. I say I, kind of navigated through and around that, but fortunately, I never got into those traps. But so many brothers close to me got in that. So many of my family members fell into crack addiction and incarceration, and so that kind of laid the germ seed. Just watching the injustices of the Reagan era, you know, um, descend on poor Black communities throughout the Midwest and beyond, really kind of laid the foundations for my political awakening. Because even though I was born well after Jim Crow, my mother, my grandmother, my aunties, and they were all raised in adults during Jim Crow, and they were very optimistic about that time. And the Carter presidency and the LBJ. So I came on the cusp of, just as Dr. Bobby E. Wright said, the civil rights movement occurred, and we pay a lot of attention to the civil rights struggle and the civil rights reforms and concessions, but we tend to ignore when white people regrouped and wiped us out.
Right.
So I came up right on the cusp of that right turn, the Reaganomics and the erosion of all of the concessions and programs, from housing, food, educational programs, just as that was being eroded and degraded. And like I said, that was kind of like my political awareness and my social awareness. Unfortunately, being on the front lines of that condition, having, like I said, family members incarcerated, family members addicted to drugs, family members dealing drugs in and out of the system, and even ending up homeless myself as a youth. I went the wrong way. I had the very poor response to it,
Right.
where getting into liberalism, reformism, and still believing in the system and Jesus Christ and the saving origins of Christ. So, I still have great affection for the people of Kansas City, but I have little to no love for that political and even social cultural system that still governs that region and that city in particular.
So it's you mentioned something very important, um, the Reagan era,
Right.
and I think that for folks who were born after it, um, Reagan made Trump look like cheesecake,
Right. Right.
because you literally, if you came around that era, I mean, I go back to remembering you know fourth grade with Carter being president and the
Right.
whole Iran situation with the Shah and Ayatollah
Yeah.
Khomeini and all that, and then all of a sudden here comes Ronnie Reagan,
Yeah.
who had been a problem with our community going back to the 60s as governor of California.
Right.
Of course, we know he was an actor before that, like many, like most politicians are actors, whether they have a SAG card or not. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? That goes along with it. Um,
Right.
and definitely shout out. I hear you quoting Dr. Bobby Wright regularly, and that's
Right.
important. Psychopathic Racial Personalities and Other Essays is a book that we all should have.
Yeah.
It just so happened that Dr. Bobby Wright, I actually have a lecture, I believe from about 1980, that he did, a cassette joint around that time with the whole Reagan era. So,
Yeah.
but I wanted to ask you, because you said that, you remember, or you got your political awakening during that time, and you kind of credit Reagan.
Mm-hmm.
What about the Reagan era was so instrumental in your awakening? Because of the fact that, again, if you weren't around for Ronald Reagan, it's one thing to read about it, but to live during that particular time period was an incredible situation. What about that kind of gave you your?
Well, when Reagan and I've always been fascinated from a very young age with politics and the political system. And even though I was quite young when Reagan ran for office, or when Reagan came to national prominence, because he was governor of California, and he played a key role in subverting the Black Panthers and other progressive movements. And it's always been understood in the United States political, social, and cultural arena that California is a laboratory. It's one of the biggest, most populous states. And so it is a laboratory for policies and initiatives. And that's for good or for bad. I mean, it's because of California emission standards came to the United States. And they know if California asserted emission standards for automobiles, it would become the standard for the US. But that's also the negative case for California. Was a laboratory for repression of progressive and radical movements. It was a laboratory for mass incarceration and the drug war. So Reagan basically brought his regressive, reactionary. Even Reagan is the author of this student debt. Prior to Reagan, was the public university system in California was the first one to be given these exorbitant tuition rates, removing grants and opportunities for poor students to get an education, or overcharging and hyper exploiting them if they sought higher education. So anyway, when I would see Reagan talk, it was like he was talking about me. I was poor, so in a crime-ridden neighborhood. I was on Medicaid, food stamps, free lunch, and he would go on the media saying that, because again, as always with capitalism, at the time he was running, there was yet another oil crisis, another energy crisis, and another banking, savings and loan crisis. There were all these crises. Well, the savings and loan hit a little later, but it was yet another economic crisis. And whenever the elite capitalists drive the system into capitalism, they scapegoat the poor. Even now, I see brothers online talking about single mothers are the cause of all the problems in the Black community. So that was going on back then too, nothing new. And so I was very much aware of my condition, going to the public school system and living in the housing projects and being on Section 8, and kids would tease us about being on Section 8, and the Medicaid clinic. Everybody knew where that was. That was back when the food stamps would come in the mail in the booklet.
Right.
And everybody be huddled around. Yeah. And so everybody knew who was broke, who was on welfare, and even kids on welfare would tease other kids on welfare. And so when I watched the candidate, because if you remember Carter, he was a compassionate liberal.
Right.
He would speak sympathetically about the poor and uplifting. Whereas Reagan would say, these people are not people worthy of help. These are people worthy of scorn due to their drain on the system, due to their, and the welfare queens, and had white folks in the suburbs who are the biggest recipients of government handouts, believing that Black women were using their food stamps to buy Cadillacs and luxury goods. And so it was amazing to me, having lived a reality and for the first time being old enough to watch a politician go on the national media and lie. And I'm like, well, this is obviously not true. I'm living this reality, and he's blaming my mother and then my grandmother for things they have literally nothing to do with. So that's why it started like, wow, this dude is talking about me and my mama and my grandma and my uncles and people in this condition. My father was incarcerated at the time, and the get tough on crime. So before, national politics was something interesting but distant, and that brought it home. And that's when I fully became aware that we are all political beings at an extremely young age. And then it also, the counter to that, as I went through my community, there's this man who is targeting us. And I did not see the response that I thought that warranted in my larger community. It's like the hood was just people going about their lives, trying to live, trying to navigate the system, trying to navigate poverty, trying to, elevate or get what relief or enjoyment they can out of life. And I was wondering why there wasn't a bigger, more visceral response to a president who was literally going on the mass media, targeting my community and scapegoating my people for America's problems that we literally had nothing to do with.
Right. No, that's I mean, just thinking back, you hit so many points. I mean, just on the strength of food stamps alone. I remember they had the food stamp coins where I'm from. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if they had them out your way, but they had the little plastic coins and all types of stuff. And I'm just thinking about just how things have changed, but they remain the same, right?
Right.
Yeah. We remember your man John Hinckley Jr. when he popped Reagan. Everybody. I think it was they assassinated John Lennon first. I think December of that year, and then Reagan was shot like either March or April. Matter of fact, if I'm not mistaken. But I remember it was a big thing because they were saying that John Hinckley Jr. had shot him because he was infatuated with Jodie Foster,
right,
in the movie Taxi and whatnot. And everybody thought that once he got popped, we folks was about to start eating in the hood again, but unfortunately that didn't happen.
Yeah. Well, that did bring about the Brady Bill, and some actually, I hate to give that piece of shit credit for anything, but there was, for the first time, in some sensible gun legislation coming from the federal level, because his I believe press secretary or one of his cabinet members, Brady, was shot and suffered permanent brain damage. And, there's a lot around Reagan being shot. I remember the Eddie Murphy Saturday Night Live buckwheat skit. That's the best thing to come out of Reagan got shot, being that he survived. The best thing to come out of that was the buckwheat mockery of the assassination and the media's coverage of the assassination attempt.
I forgot about that. No doubt. No doubt.
Go back and look. I'm sure it's on YouTube. Buckwheat,
I already know.
The assassination.
Eddie Murphy was really funny. Right.
That's all I got out of that. That was wonderful times. Good times.
Yes, great times. Okay, so Reaganomics. And Reaganomics, to a great extent, for folks that don't know, that was like I guess that would be our era of the Great Depression. You know what I'm saying? I think that was that would be along those lines for many folks.
Here's the disgraceful thing about Reaganomics, which is also was known as voodoo economics, because as a racist, they used to call it amongst the elite his white opponents on the left and the right. I believe it was his vice president before he was put on the ticket, called Reaganomics voodoo economics, because he was George Bush was a racist. This is long before Michelle Obama was twerking on his wheelchair. He called it voodoo economics, or another term for Reaganomics was trickle-down economics.
That's trickle-down.
And what's really tragic now is that when Reagan was proposing trickle-down economics, the Black community and the Black political class were the first people to speak out and denounce it. But now in the 2023s, I see some of the biggest proponents and advocates of trickle-down economics is the Black community. A lot of these prosperity gospel individuals and prosperity politics individuals who praise our Black elites. LeBron James opening a school in his poor, ravaged neighborhood is trickle-down economics. Right. Jay-Z and Beyonce coming to sprinkle a little money and talk about his presence as charity in Missouri and around the Mike Brown case. That's trickle-down economics. So we went from a community that had enough consciousness and awareness that trickle-down economics is not about lifting up the poor, but controlling and dictating to the poor, to now looking at when Black wealthy and Black billionaires engage in trickle-down economics, we celebrate it and we call it Black excellence. So that just going back to that, how warped we have become in our political analysis and our class consciousness between the Reagan era and today. And when I point out that rich Black people Black billionaires and multimillionaires and celebrities bestowing their blessing or engaging in pet projects throughout our community. I remember Kanye went around here lying about opening a school and opening up a music academy and the Donda charity. And Black people, before he even broke ground, before he put it down, Black people were applying for jobs that didn't exist within the Kanye sphere. So there were Black people, I had projects that I was working on here in Chicago, and people just walked away from grassroots, organic, bottom-up projects that we were doing because they were like, any day now, Kanye is going to move back to Chicago and open the Donda Academy, and people were prepping and getting ready for the role they could play in that trickle-down scenario that never manifested, thank goodness.
Are you suggesting that Kanye was the first Umar Johnson?
No, that would be entertaining if Umar could rap, or if Kanye could be more consistent in his delusional rhetoric. But I like to believe I was Umaring before Umar.
He said you was Umar before Umar?
Oh yes, very much. I was Umaring long before Umar came on the scene. I think he bit off of me.
He bit off you, man. He bit your style.
The shit I threw away, he picked up.
That's what he did.
Yeah, absolutely.
I can see that happening, man, for some odd reason. But yeah. So okay, cool. So boom. So you get this epiphany. You realize that it's so where do you go from there? I mean, it's like, okay, boom. You see that, Reagan is just another lying white politician.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And you get to see it in real time because you didn't have to read about it in a book. You just, you had the opportunity to live it, and you had the opportunity for him to talk bad about your family and your folks in your neighborhood, so on and so forth. So what was your response? How did you,
prior to that time, I followed politics.
Electoral.
This is back again. Yeah. Well, no, not just electoral politics, policy development, policy implementations of various platforms of the various political parties, and local politicians and things of that nature, history. And but I didn't consider myself engaged in politics. I was an observer, I was a student, but I wasn't engaged in politics. But at that time, that's kind of what went between watching the evolution of Reagan and the letters I received from my father in prison. My father was in prison, and he would write me these long letters, old school shit, how, dudes get locked up and become very engaged and attentive fathers, but as soon as they get out, they in the wind, that's so. But I used to get these long letters from my father, and he would write about, the conditions in the prisons and how it reflected outside, writing, cautionary tales. And so that during the Reagan era is when I realized that I'm political. And if someone's using my community and my condition as a political pawn, then I am a political person. And I'm not just impacted by politics, but I can engage with politics. Right. And so at that time, I was still a Christian. I was a member of Covenant Memorial Baptist Church, and I was very active in the church community. So my solution was educating my community, but it was a very liberal and inclusive, Dr. King type, if we come together, if we let people know how we're suffering, if we could just inform the people and unite the people, we shall overcome. So I was engaged in liberal, delusionary, Christian, inclusive, charity. And I started joining groups like the Youth Volunteer Corps and the Boys and Girls Club. I would volunteer. I would work at Kids Across America. And I started, I received several awards from groups like B'nai B'rith, so because here's a young man, and I'd get written up and interviewed by the local newspaper. We've got a young man, downtrodden young man,
I got to see that
who's
picture.
Lifting himself up by his bootstraps, right? I was a member of the fan club where we go around and give meals and fans to poor old people in the community to try to prevent them from suffering from heat stroke. And I would look at the paperwork, and it would be the Kellogg Foundation, like I said, I mentioned the B'nai B'rith, the Ford Foundation, and by these white elites. And like I said, I worked at the Boys and Girls Club, and we'd have the steak and burger dinners where these elite, wealthy white people would come and have dinner with poor black kids in the community. And the white elites would eat burgers, and the black kids would eat steak. And the white people would sit there and give encouraging words and promise scholarships and all this shit. And so that's what the shit I was doing throughout grade school, middle school, and high school. I woke up to how ineffective this was around high school, but that was, to me, my political education. It was very liberal, I wouldn't even call myself progressive, just liberal and Judeo-Christian activism, And then when I found out how that shit didn't work, I became a reactionary, toxic, militant, black nationalist. And that's was kind of my Umar phase before Umar, when I was out there, advocating for reactionary ideology and reactionary solutions for the black condition.
So how old were you when when you was going through this these transitions? Because
well, I would say I kind of became like an adolescent, maybe 8 or 9. I went from just like reading National Geographic and being enthusiastic about watching the nightly news. And there was a show called 2020. And I just was like, wow, this is just so. And I watched in Missouri, it was Channel 19 public television. And I would watch the various documentaries. And back then, in the late 80s, early 90s, they'd put on like Noam Chomsky would be aired on public television and just shit you would never see on any type of public or private mass media. But so I was consuming that stuff, and through middle school and high school is when I joined the Block Brothers and the Stop the Violence Coalition, teaching black people not to be violent by telling them that if they stay in school, drink their milk, prayed, and believed in themselves, they could go on to be CEOs or even one day president. That kind of bullshit. And then I came across this book called The Afrocentric Idea. And that was kind of between middle school and high school, gave me my first idea that black people in the United States were African. And prior to that, my nickname in the hood was Ethy, because I was a very slight dude most of my life,
Ethy?
Like 6 feet tall, 120 pounds, Ethy. It was short for Ethiopian. And back then, that's when Ethiopia was having those rolling famines and shit like that. And so all the skinny kids were called Ethiopian, and my nickname was Ethy. And I hated it. I really resented that name. And not even so much because it made fun of how skinny I was, but because it associated me with those poor, starving people in Africa. And I was an American. And I read a book by Molefi Ashanti called, it was more of a pamphlet, not even a book, called The Afrocentric Idea, which was, like I said, really, it's like, damn, we Africans. And this is, of course, is the emergence of the conscious hip hop movement. And I started getting more of those texts, started reading Kwame Ture. And that's when I was like, well, goddamn, this ain't just black people in America trying to fight for our civil rights and dignity. This is about black people overcoming an overwhelming, oppressive, relentless force. And so that kind of, even though I was getting good information, I wasn't really processing it well or utilizing it properly, which I think is still a problem for a lot of other black people. A lot of people think that, oh, you get good information, you get good knowledge. I read Amos Wilson and I read Dr. Marimba Ani. They get a lot of good information, but that's only, you can have the best ingredients in the world. But if you don't properly prepare it, if you don't store the information properly, it's like any other type of nourishment. You store it wrong, what could make you healthy can make you sick. It could rot. Or if you prepare it wrong, what was a bountiful, wonderful, tasteful thing can become extremely distasteful. So that's where I was. I had all the right ingredients. I was getting really good information, not just from the text, documentaries, recorded speeches, the music at the time. Shout out to Poor Righteous Teachers, KRS-One, Boots Riley and the Coup back then, E-Rock, Pam the Funkers, progressive music, the culture, the black culture in the 90s was, we all had our Black Africa, Free South Africa medallions.
Without a
But
doubt.
me not really having the older people to guide me the way they perhaps should have, and a lot of older people that were, the things I was getting into were alien to them. Like my grandmother, bless her heart, but a lot of stuff I was getting into and coming into, she just saw it as hateful and crazy. So I had good information, but I really didn't have the experience or even the formal cognitive or research skills to process and apply the information. So even I became, a reactionary, like a lot of Black, which is why I still engage with a lot of reactionary Black people today online and in the community, because I was there once. So like I said, I was Umar, like, these absurdist conspiracy, the Black woman needs to submit, and we need to reinstitute the strong Black family, and these gays and these punks and these sissies are bringing us down, and just all the same shit. I was heavily into that, into my 20s. And I just basically not necessarily wanted to overthrow oppression, but replace my oppressors, which is two adversarial positions that a lot of people don't seem to be able to distinguish one from the other. So that's when I went into my militant kill 'em all, and I started working with these underground groups. And I'm thinking, we're going to have an armed insurgency, guerrilla underground armed insurgency, and I'm in the woods with the militia brothers.
You were still in Kansas City, or you was in Chicago?
This is between Kansas City and New York. I started going back and forth between Kansas City and New York, like in the 8th grade. I would work summer jobs in New York, and they would actually send me to New York to get me out of Kansas City for the summers, because at that time, 89, 90, 92, Kansas City had the highest per capita homicide rates. And I had my oldest brother.
Pause real quick. That is the wildest shit I ever heard. Someone being, I mean, and not to, I'm from Bridgeport, Connecticut, of course, but but to hear folks getting sent to New York to escape crime just sound like some wild shit. So that's an act of desperation. But go ahead, you talking about your older brother and whatnot. I'm sorry.
My older brother, he had joined a gang, which I'm not outing him, because he's still. Unfortunately, he's paralyzed from the chest down, was shot 9 times. But my older siblings started getting into that life. And my best friends, to this day, just the year before last, I was in Kansas City to greet a brother, one of my childhood friends who got out of jail after doing 17 years. And so as my grandmother and my mother was, was struggling with addiction. My father was in and out. So anyway, my grandmother was like, let's get him out of here for the summers. And they took me out of the public. Well, I got expelled from the public school system, and they wanted to put me in this reform school. So I had a relative of means pay to send me to private school to keep me out. So they were like, let's save me, my brother, and my sister. The kind of family came together, and they sent me and my younger brother to New York. And so I would go to New York, and New York was a mecca for everything from like African traditional spiritual systems, Haitian Vodun, Ifa, Yoruba, the Asar Set Society, and Harlem at this time, pre-Giuliani Harlem, before Harlem, Giuliani gutted Harlem. The first time I ever set foot in Harlem, I thought it was some type of African festival. But it was like that every day.
You was out there with like Mayor Koch and all that back in the day.
Koch, Mayor Dinkins.
Right.
And so I would go to get this big city cultural experience.
Yeah.
And then come back to little slow ass Kansas City. And I would come there even more fired up. Like, we got to bring the system down. We got to bum rush the system. Yeah, we got to. And so, but like I said, it's very reactionary. Like I didn't have, I think it's unfortunate, but I had access to such good information, such a vital and vibrant, progressive, revolutionary, conscious culture. And a lot of it I squandered because I hadn't yet shaken my indoctrination from childhood. I was indoctrinated into Judeo-Christian beliefs and values. I was indoctrinated into American exceptionalism, Pledge of Allegiance. So I took my indoctrination, which was warped and false and anti-Black, and then I infused it with this Black radical consciousness and information, learning historical information about our history, learning about our current reality, our militants. So that's a toxic where you have a lot of people, you don't awaken, you don't become conscious, you don't become revolutionary by simply learning about our history, learning the truths and the facts and engaging in struggle. There's also the step that you have to go through where you purge your indoctrination. Because if you don't purge or deconstruct your indoctrination as you become conscious, that will contaminate your consciousness. And sometimes your consciousness, you just become a militant integrationist, as opposed to seeking liberation. You're just trying to seek a more militant, like Dr. Umar and so many people I can name, but I don't want to step on their toes.
It was very important what you said, because some folks are under the belief that, that if then it'll change things. But like you said, that whole the indoctrination is sometimes more dangerous than anything. In fact, it is more dangerous because of the fact that you are still it's like you are literally getting dressed, putting on a 3-piece suit, some of the finest cologne, and your ass ain't took a shower in a week.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It defeats
and
the
it's
purpose.
hard to do.
Right.
There's this thing called the fallacy of previous investment, meaning that if you put so much into something that's wrong, if you put so much time and energy into something that is incorrect or wrong, it's very hard to change it. And when you finally is revealed to you that what you've invested in is wrong or warped or dysfunctional or a maladaptation, you double down on it. So if I go from, I could stand up and say, hey, I've been struggling, organizing, working for my people for decades now. And, and someone comes to me and say, all that work, all that sacrifice, there was a corruption there. At the core, it was corrupt. It was dysfunctional. And I'm like, well, man, did I just waste my life? When it only becomes a waste if you double down and hold on to it, when more functional or more truly revolutionary alternatives are made available to you and you reject them for no other reason than you already have so much invested in this reactionary backwardness.
Right. It's sort of like when you're driving and you're going somewhere, you're out of state or whatever, and you're going in the wrong direction. And you find out after went through all of these dirt roads, past all of these backwards towns, and you had to pass these local pigs and all kinds of shit. And then you find out you're 100 miles out the way.
Yeah.
So now you have a decision make. Either keep going in that same direction and hope that you run into another highway, or you turn your ass around for that 100 miles and start the journey over again. Most people don't want to take that particular road because it is costly, it's taxing. And that's sort of where we are right now when it comes to quote unquote movement.
Yeah. Well, everyone quotes. I see people, the late great chairman Fred Hampton, where he talked about resolutions that don't resolve and solutions that don't solve. Everyone loves to recite that quote, but I don't really see people applying it. Just an example, you have people that understand Christianity is the colonizer's religion. Christianity is slave religion. Christianity has no evidentiary base. It is a mass delusion and all this, and then they convert to Islam as a solution. To as an opposition to the oppression of Christianity, they convert to Islam. That's a resolution that don't resolve. That's a solution that don't solve. Or even better, I do you one better. A lot of Black people were like, yeah, forget that Christianity. the white man's religion, and they might become Kemites, and they might embrace the Asar set and start reading the Metunater, or embrace Ifa, go home and set up an ancestral shrine, or a shrine to the Orisha, and go to the ritual and evoke Igun, and they do all that African spirituality. But what do they do with the African spirituality? The same thing they did with Christianity. Try to bring down material wealth. You know, I want the ancestors to bless me. First, I was asking Jesus for a Cadillac, but now you asking Oshun for a Cadillac. Or they use it to dominate and manipulate others. You know, they utilize our African traditions, our African mythology and folklore for the same seeking the same outcomes they did when they were Jesus. That's a resolution that don't resolve and a solution that don't solve. So that goes so far down the line in a lot of people who claim to be awakened or claim to be revolutionary. So, and I was there, and I'm not speaking as a person who is above or beyond that. I'm talking about a person who went through that. But the true work of a revolutionary, the first step of revolution is self-examination, self-deconstruction, and then self-reconstruction, questioning everything you held as true. And you got a lot of people that want revolution in society, but refuse to engage in revolution internally. Or then you have other people who think that the whole revolution is just changing yourself, you know, and leaving society to function as it is. So that's another resolution that don't resolve.
Few different things here. Revolution, spirituality, religion, spirituality, revolution. What does that mean to you? Do you see religion and spirituality as the same? And what does revolution mean to you?
Spirituality is religion for lazy people. And religion is spirituality for uncreative people. So
you would say you're not spiritual at all?
No, nobody is.
So you don't believe in the physical, the mental, and the spiritual. What do you?
I don't believe anything that is not based in evidence, that cannot be demonstrated, proven, tested, and dissected, or dissected.
So spirituality is not tested, you said?
It's untestable. It's not even definable. I engage with spiritual people all the time, and I ask them sincere questions, and I do sincere inquiry. And pretty much, if you get the most spiritual, ethereal person, as you start to try to engage with what they claim, their claims, they kind of turn into evangelicals. They get very hostile, very dogmatic, you know. So spirituality is religion for people who don't want to follow a preset dogma. And you look at most spiritual people, they kind of pick and choose what they want. You know, there'll be elements of Christianity, elements of Buddhism, Hinduism, elements of Islam, elements of our ancestral or indigenous African spiritual systems. Spirituality allows you to you know, it's a smorgasbord. You can pick from whatever you want. And hell, if you don't even want to be terrestrial and pick from the world, you can look to the universe. That bullshit like The Secret, you know. And so, first of all, I ask people to define what spirit, if they have any evidence of what that spirit exists. So like I said, spirituality is religion for lazy people, and religion is spirituality for non-creative people who don't really have the creative. They just want their shit ready-made, already available. And I think that they both lean heavily towards being counter-revolution or subversive of revolution in a myriad of ways.
And how so? Because I mean, from this, I want to know revolution. How do you define revolution? Because I know I've heard you talk about, or to a great extent, you said you were pretty much anti-violent, right?
Yeah, I'm anti-violence.
Okay, anti-violence. What does revolution look like to you? Because I know that, you know, you're also vegan, and I want to talk about, you know, what brought that on. Also, you know, I know you know, a self-professed tree hugger.
Yeah. I've only hugged a tree once, and it was this sister prior to meeting my wife. There was this sister I really dug, and she was a spiritual sister.
So she was hugging trees, so you decided to hug trees?
Yeah, just trying to look deep. So it was just that one time, and it was for the wrong reason.
She's faking the phone.
Yeah, I was worldly, I was
bullshit. Anyway,
but can I tell you something? I felt something. I'm too alpha to hug a tree today. But back then, I was actually annoyed that I actually did feel something when I literally hugged a tree. It was in Prospect Park.
He's hugging trees in Prospect Park.
Yeah,
you must have been. If you was hugging trees in Prospect Park, you must have been smoking trees.
No, I've never smoked trees. I've never smoked, not once.
Okay, and he was hugging trees in Prospect
But
Park.
my wife wants me to. She says for a man of a certain age, she thinks I should, use cannabis for health. And,
your wife is crying out for help. She's she like smoke this shit. Man.
Yeah, for cognition and things of that nature.
Okay.
But she's a researcher. Man, I messed up. I married a researcher. Our arguments are so whack. I'd love to have like just a regular old reality TV quality argument with my wife.
So does her
when me and my wife fight, we run to our various bookshelves and our files and our it's so whack. Don't marry a researcher.
Thank you for your advice. Now let's get revolution. What is revolution to you, man?
Revolution is the systemic and fundamental deconstruction of a system, a culture, a system of governance, hierarchy, and culture, and the replacement of that systematic deconstruction with a system, a culture, human relationships that are diametrically opposed to the previous system. Revolution, as Dr. Khalid, is a complete turn. So we think that upheaval, instability, wars are revolution, but that's not it. That is not a revolution. A revolution is when you deconstruct an existing hierarchy and replace it with one that is diametrically opposed to the previous one. And if you don't, a lot of times people think tearing down a system is revolution, but that's just one half of it. You have to implement a diametrically opposed system. So if you have a system based on competition and you deconstruct and replace it with a system based on cooperation and sharing. You have a capitalist system, then you have to come with the socialist system. You have a theocratic system, you have to come with a secular or atheistic system. You have a sexist system, you have to come with a humane and anti-sexist system. Not matriarchy isn't necessarily the counter to that, but a system based on justice and humanity. So I think a lot of times we just look at the one half and ignore the other half, which is why a lot of decolonization movements in Africa, they had half a revolution, if you could even call that, but really it was a replacement. Many of the from Idi Amin to in Zimbabwe, formerly Rhodesia, with Mugabe, Jomo Kenyatta, you had a lot of African leaders who ousted the white man only to literally sit in that same throne and perpetuate the same exploitation of the people. So those were not revolutions. They weren't even full decolonization. It was a neo-colonialism.
Absolutely.
It was reaction.
So no, I'm getting that. So, I mean, indeed. So would you consider yourself a revolutionary? And do you identify as a Black nationalist, Pan-African? What do you,
I'm a Pan-Africanist. Okay, I'm a revolutionary Pan-Africanist.
Okay. And in your mind, a revolutionary Pan-Africanist is what?
A revolutionary Pan-Africanist who recognizes the historical, cultural, social, and political unity, the necessity of that unity, and seeks to cultivate, strengthen those ties, and then utilize those ties for radical engagement in opposition to systems of oppression. So Pan-Africanist seeks not just to unite Africans, but revolutionary Pan-Africanist seeks to unite Africans for the specific purpose of subverting the systems and institutions of capitalism, imperialism, and global white hegemony. And we don't seek to replace them. We seek to expel them.
Without a doubt. So do you believe that can be done?
Absolutely.
Violence and bloodshed in 2023?
No, absolutely not. See, okay. Let me slow down. Let me get hell no.
I'm trying to work with you, but you
I'm drinking this caffeinated green tea, man.
I'm about to
Don't
say what the fuck did Diallo talk about all together? Okay.
No.
So okay.
It's absolutely going to be violence and bloodshed.
Okay. So that's just something that's par for the course. It's not your choice, but you recognize that's pretty much what
okay. I think every African should be prepared, or as something that I hold to heart and something I think about every day. John G. Jackson said, good men are going to have to learn to love to cut throats as much as bad men do, if we really seek to be free and liberated.
And do you feel that it's because of that reason that we exist in the state that we are in, because we haven't learned to, as you just stated, cut throats
we have learned to cut throats. The problem is not the fact that we refuse to engage in violence.
Right.
That is not at all. Black people are dying wholesale all over the world.
Right.
And I hate to keep quoting all these brothers, but what do you want from me?
No, it's all good.
These are my ancestors and my teacher. John Henry Clark accurately stated that properly trained, equipped, and motivated, there is no better fighting machine than the black man.
Right.
And even our oppressors understand that with the way they organize their military. Every single colonial powers at the same time, white men were running around the world saying that black men are inherently cowardly, that we are not intelligent enough to engage in the regimented life of military life. At the same time, they were writing and publishing the scientific racism about the inadequacy of the black man. Every single one of them organized the colonial regiment.
Right.
Every single one of them organized the colonial regiment because they understood the fighting prowess. So the problem is not that we don't do violence or have an aversion to violence. The problem is ideological. We don't engage in ideological violence because there's only 3 types of violence in the world. There is descending violence, lateral violence, and ascending violence. Descending violence is when you attack people lower on the hierarchy than yourself. When the government attacks citizens, when able-bodied people attack disabled people, when cisgendered heterosexual people attack LGBTQ people, that's descending violence. Lateral violence is when you engage in physical or violent engagement with people on the same rung as you. So if you and I are battling it out in the streets, the black gangs fighting each other, when these Uncle Tom, when Will Smith smacked Chris Rock, that was lateral violence. Ascending violence, which is the only violence that is seen as an atrocity, that is denounced, that is fetishized, is when people low on the hierarchy attack people above themselves on the hierarchy. And that is the only justified violence. That is the only justified or the only healthy and restorative and advancing violence. I mean, Frantz Fanon wrote on it extensively. The problem with our people is not that we non-violent or that we not violent enough, we don't have enough guns. Our only problem is ideologically, we in ourselves shun and have an aversion to ascending violence. That's the biggest problem that in terms of the militant or armed element of the Black revolutionary struggle. But it's absolutely going to take violence, and it's absolutely going to be bloodshed for revolution. But here's the kicker. Bloodshed is the constant. They told Black people in the 60s, the highest military and political officials in the United States said, if Black people want to be revolutionaries, they will be dead revolutionaries. And we need to demonstrate and articulate to the Black radical masses of the Black malcontents that if they engage in political revolutionary struggles, if they seek to unite with foreign terrorists, foreign guerrilla organizations, foreign leftist or communist organizations, we will incarcerate them, we will assassinate them, and we will shun and isolate them. But we basically gave up our struggle, and what are we going through? So the consequences of the surrender are this is for Black people in terms of violence and suffering that the system will level against us are the same as the consequences for resistance.
And when you say we, you're talking about the masses. You're not saying we as a whole. I know you're not talking about absolutes.
Right.
Because of course we've had a number of different formations, for throughout the last century that were definitely ascending, utilizing ascending violence. And
oh yeah, I'm definitely, there were organizations and individuals who engaged in, we can go down the list of the organizations, and we can go down the list like Mark Essex, up and down the list of people. So yeah, I mean us collectively,
right, no doubt,
or
no doubt.
generally. But
so
yeah, there are exceptions to that rule, and we should hold them in great regard. Nat Turner, that's ascending violence.
Right, absolutely. So do you because I'm definitely, I'm in agreement with a lot of what you're saying. When you talk about you said we as a whole.
Mm.
Do you really believe that we as a whole will ever, quote unquote, come together and fight this fight? What will it take for something like that in your eyes? I know you're not, I know you, I saw the episode when you were a Swami or whatever you was, but I know that
wasn't me. You talking about Guru Diallo? That's a whole
Guru
nother
Diallo,
dude.
yeah.
He
So
on some. Nah, that ain't me.
What would Guru do? But yeah. So I mean, what's your take on that? Because I think that unfortunately, many people around the planet, many Africans, so on and so forth, and just many individuals, they skip over the fact that it's never, to a great extent, been mass movements that brought about change. It's been, you had guerrillas, you had small pockets, you had folks who conquered and on that particular level, but we don't see that as a reality here. I mean, what's your thoughts on that here in the United States?
First of all, no, we will never all come together. And to be honest, that is not necessary, nor is it desirable. We just saw during the Occupy movement where the white folks who run shit were in the streets talking about the 1%. It is literally, they understand that it only takes a small number of white folks to dominate and run this whole system and reap the lion's share of the reward. White people are not unified. And I talk all the time about the myth of white unity, because we believe, all these white folks work together and conspire together. If disunity was if the byproduct of disunity was oppression, then white people would be the most oppressed people in the world. I don't know why we still have these discussions about, in terms of, we all got to come together for freedom, when we saw white folks fight 2 world wars against each other and still continue to dominate the world. So no, revolution is about quality, not quantity. I'll say that one more time. Revolution is not about quality, it's about quantity. So give me a dozen competent, rational, committed revolutionaries over 1,000,001 people that don't want to engage in revolution. So it's a quality over quantity thing. And so I think we who are already conscious have to intensify. But that's something Black people have always dealt with. You have a lot of so-called Black leaders and Black elites, like when Oprah went to said she couldn't open schools in Chicago, or she couldn't contribute to the development of Black people in Chicago because we don't value education. And I hear Black elites always talk about, what's that guy's name? After Nipsey Hussle was assassinated or murdered, a lot of prominent artists came out and see, that's why you don't do nothing in the hood. Now, I've never in my life, I've been watching these rich white folks all my life. I've never heard of Bill Gates. I've never heard a white elite say, well, I had this agenda, I had this program, I had this thing I wanted to implement, but them rednecks, them Appalachian, that poor white trash just won't, they don't act right. So I can't carry forth my agenda because the white masses don't act right. But Black masses, the Black people with no resources, no influence, and no power get blamed, single mothers, and now the white folks is all strung out on Oxycontin and meth, and white women are starting to have all the babies out of wedlock and all. You don't see the white elite saying, well, what can we do now? We're not unified. Our people ain't got it together. So the reality is, in terms of what it takes for the struggle, it takes those who are conscious, those who are willing to make a positive contributions to our just aspirations, to organize, pool our resources and come up with viable solutions and engage and carry out those solutions. And that will win more people over to our struggle. That will win more people over to our struggle. So if we valued the people we already had and properly engaged and utilized the people who were already on our side, we would not be having this confusion about, well, can we all come together? You know, the most populous country in the world is China. The Chinese Communist Party and the Chinese Communist Revolution was started by 24 people out of 1 billion.
So check it. So the key word you used, which I was looking for, was organized. And that's the whole thing about, and you know, definitely shout out to Coco in regards to capitalism being organized. Right. That's the thing. We're talking about centuries of organization, right? So, and capitalism, the way capitalism works, of course, you know, even with you know, it's a quote unquote white concept, but it's powered by us. You know what I'm saying? It's our participation, right? That aids in its life, in its you know, in keeping that pulse pumping. So organization. Are you a part of an organization, or what do you feel about organized fronts, and you know, how do we get to the next step or stage without organization?
You can't. Organization is the apparatus through which we enact our ideas. And so if I think every Black person should be engaged with an organization. If there are no viable organizations in your space, I do believe that you should take it upon yourself to construct and develop an organization.
Okay. So
not a cult.
Yes.
And yes, you know, I am with an organization. I actually got my organizational training and mentorship and learning as a member of the National Black United Front Kansas City chapter. When I was in New York, I was a member of the Sons of Man. And when I was here, I actually hit the ground and I reached out to some local people who were already established. And I've gone through several organizations here in Chicago. We had the Chicago Agenda, and we had the Bloom Collective, and so on. And right now, I'm in the embryonic stage of reinvigorating the African World Coalition. Whenever I seek to engage, but in that time between the Bloom Collective and the African World Coalition, I started working with political campaigns here, trying to advance certain policies. Like now, my wife is researching and working on everything from bail reform to allowing, you know, convicted felons to vote, and working with certain politics. I guess I can say names like Representative Ford, South Side and West Side representatives to get some relief, legislative relief to the Black community. So I am always either publicly or behind the scenes, but I'm never outside of organized and structured and focused action.
So you believe in reform?
I don't believe in anything. I accept that there are some reforms and some policies that can bring short-term or long-term relief or secure assets for my community. So I don't believe in reform in terms of misrepresenting what reform can do for individuals in the community, such as in the campaigns that we worked on. Right now, Illinois has a moratorium on the death penalty. And then there was a politician who came and lifted that reform. And so right now there is reinstituted a reform that puts yet another moratorium on the death penalty, while just a neighboring state is literally executing innocent people in Missouri, which is a border state to Illinois, is going on. And I think, you know, for the revolutionary in our community, for us to neglect, you know, from people got sons and daughters and grandsons on death row, and we'd be like, well, we're trying to tear the whole system down in a multi-generational, long, protracted struggle, but you don't take a moment to look down at the people's immediate and day-to-day. So you can ask yourself, when you struggle for revolution to overthrow the system, would you rather struggle with schools that have police officers, armed police officers in the schools where you're organizing, or have them expelled from the schools? Do you want to struggle within a state that is executing African people and imposing the death penalty, or one that doesn't? Do you want to struggle under conditions where your grandma has access to affordable insulin or doesn't? So I believe in engaging in progressive policies and bringing about reforms that speak to immediate needs. And I do not believe that that detracts from or even distracts from the long-term protracted struggle, multi-generational struggle of liberation and revolution.
Okay, cool. Yeah, and I mean, whatever, I'm playing the role of the interviewer, my man. So
right, yeah, go.
Whatever, yeah. So whatever my position is, whatever tool you can utilize,
yeah,
to organize is
right.
is mandatory. So
yeah.
I need to know, right? Because and this is a question that was posed in the chat to an extent, and I'm gonna add my own spin on it, right? So you consider yourself an organizer, correct?
At times. I
Okay.
played many different roles. I've played times where I was just a grunt of frontline soldiers carrying out agendas. There's times where I've had to construct and conceptualize the organization or various agents. So yes, I am an organizer when that is my role, or that is the role I play in whatever formation I'm moving in. But a lot of times I'm the one who executes, because, depending on how you define an organizer, but yeah, I can, and I'm willing to be an organizer. And there's time where I'm willing to just not have any say in constructing the agenda, but just executing my role in the agenda. I think just if you read anything on guerrilla tactics, guerrilla warfare, revolutionary organization, anyone involved in that type of work should be willing and able to play a multitude of roles.
Right. So when I'm saying organizer, I'm not I'm speaking along those lines. Okay. When I'm talking about organizing, I'm talking about organizing the people, masses.
Oh yeah, and that perspective. Yeah, because a lot of times you have a formation and everybody wants to define the agenda, everybody wants to construct the program, and everybody wants to lead and oversee the execution.
That's this organization.
Yeah, and me, I'm a person, I'm a big fan of bureaucracy and division of labor as a political science geek. So I like when people play their role and understand their role and appreciate and value their role.
Yeah. No, and I agree with you. You know what I'm saying? I'm a stickler for terms and structures, so on and so forth. But generally when I'm talking about organizing, I'm speaking about the masses as a whole.
Yeah, I would call myself that.
Yeah, I'm not talking about, what the job description, the job title is. You changing tires on the truck that's gonna go crush the motherfuckers, then change the tire on the truck. And that's, we get it, as long as the people are clear about why it is you're trained, the political education side of it. Why is it that you're changing these tires? You're not just changing the tires on the trucks because you like white walls, motherfucker. You changing them because you know that these tires are going to be used to go crush your enemy. So as an organizer, right? From that particular joint, what is your method when it comes to reaching the masses? Because of course, we recognize that you are definitely anti-organized religion. You are against certain types of individuals in society, which I can understand and I can agree with to an extent, right?
Right.
What so how, and I'm asking this question because it's very important for folks like us to be clear and to clarify for folks who are checking us out, because there's someone's out there right now or will see this and they may have aspirations. They may say, okay, I would like to be an organizer, so what are the methods? How do we get down? I'm saying all that to say, what are some of the strategies and tactics you use in reaching the people? Because I think we can agree that in order for us to move forward, there has to be a degree and a level of organization, and there's going to be disagreement, and there'll be contradictions. You know what I'm saying? Of course, there's and criticisms. There's constructive criticism and antagonistic criticisms. So I'm asking you, like, how do you see us moving forward, and what are some of the methods that you would use if you had the ear? Because right now you do have the ear to the eyes and ears of thousands of people a week. What is that? What is the role that you would play, and how would you go about?
Well, it's a little different. Being on the ground organizing the methods. I have to quote Emma Goodman when she said, "I won't be a part of a revolution that won't allow me to dance." Or more, if you need a more detailed description of how that works and instruction, you can go to Oba Tashaka in his 2-volume work, The Art of Leadership. The way I would read on the ground organizing, the way I would do that is by having multifaceted organization. You can't just call people out to face down the cops and protest and demonstrate and get hit in the head with billy clubs and suck tear gas. So the first step is having multifaceted organization where people come together to commune together, to celebrate, to dance, and to engage in reaffirming and healthy organizations. When I was organizing with the Bloom Collective, we part of that, we did the politics, we did the food security, but we also had an event organizing arm of our organization. And there were revolutionaries who were tasked with creating community-wide events for people to come out and dance and celebrate and enjoy music. There was food, available. I got vetoed when I said it should all be strictly vegan, organic. But, we had events where people were serving chicken wings, to my dismay. But I was there, engaged in organizational discipline, not flipping over the table and just playing the role I was assigned to play. So I think that a lot of times we take for granted that revolutionaries are fully formed human who enjoy art, who enjoy engaging, who enjoy, sexual intercourse and shaking their asses as much as everyone else. So rejuvenizing and validating elements are ongoing and parallel to the political and social and economic work. That's what I would do on the ground in terms of attracting people to this organization, that it is not a miserable or not a draining engagement, but it is a fulfilling and validating thing. So in terms of creating any organization that I'm a part, that I play a role in constructing, there's always the social element of it, the rejuvenizing and celebrating element. And apart from that, when we do come together to talk, to strategize, to organize, to build, we always have to speak to the needs, the immediate needs of the people within the organization. I was a member of a church that had everything in it, people pulling up in Cadillacs and people pulling up on the bus. And the people in the church would pray together, they'd worship together, they sing songs together, and half of us in that church would go back to substandard housing or shelters, and the other people would go to mansions. Right. And there was no pulling and just redistribution of resources, or even, and there are literally times my grandmother went to church and was struggling to feed the grandkids. She had adopted me and my siblings because my mother's addiction and my father's incarceration to keep us out of the foster care system. She would be going to the church turkey giveaway and going to the church feeding the homeless when she had food insecurity, and no one inquired about it. Right. And so after you create an organization that has as great a priority fighting the system as it does rejuvenizing and validating the membership, you also have to have time for people to come and speak to their deficits, to their immediate needs, to their concerns. I've been part of organizations, or I know of organizations where there were women in the organization who were dealing with domestic violence, and we out here trying to fight to protect our community, and the members aren't protected. Again, issues of housing instability amongst the organization. So that I would make sure, and that those type of organizations are the ones that is both a recruitment tool. We need to be able to have people that can come and say, hey, when I joined this organization, my life improved. Right. And not just because I was able to contribute to the struggle, but I found a network, a community of family that really plays the role of family. That, culture is about creating a container that has the immediate needs present and has the immediate needs present and has the nutrients and nourishment to grow and prosper. That's and it. So, but in terms of where I think you're more so directed on is what is interpreted as my harsh tone when I'm speaking to the community and speaking to the public through the Bro Diallo show and Earn Your Liberation and stuff. Well, my goal in that is not to reach out to the masses in terms of appealing to the masses. My goal is to present to the masses something that I think is missing. And I think a sober, evidence-based, unyielding critique, deconstruction. I seek, as a vegan, I still want to slaughter the sacred cows that we hold to. So I speak to those issues unflinchingly and uncompromisingly, simply because I believe that is necessary, not necessarily to attract people to me as a person, but these ideas need to be articulated and I believe resonated throughout the community because it's not enough. I think that Black people, we are in an existential struggle and an existential crisis. So I don't think that there's, in this juncture, at this epoch in history, I don't think it is a need, and I don't think it's beneficial to not be straightforward and direct in when I'm talking to the people with this to the masses.
And I unite with, like, we started an organization 19 years ago called the FTP movement, right? So everything you're talking about from we use creative resistance. So
I'm very familiar with
So it might be
I was hating from outside the club when I couldn't get in. I was watching you from afar for years.
Down there, man. You's already down. Man. Stop playing.
You down there in the sun in the warm tropical.
Stop it. Hey, we write on in Chicago on Cottage Grove as well. So you know what I'm
saying? I know.
Brandon over there. Y'all be trying to put us in the sun all the time, like ain't nobody working in the shop. But so I, we've always been, like you said, that's been the norm, So we're cool with that. The culture, of course, culture's a weapon. We know that, going back to folks like Bunchy Carter with the discos and jumping up on the tables and giving political education class in the middle of the joint. Comedy, hip hop, poetry, whatever. You know what I'm saying? Art, fashion, that's all a part of it. So I guess, like for me, I think one of the places we differ is just approach. I think we both talk shit, and I don't have no problem with being live and direct, but I think that my brand of organizing is to win the individuals, and I want to be clear for folks who are checking this out, right? I'm not a cat that think we're gonna save the world. I'm not gonna think that the masses are just gonna be like, you know what? Oh, everything works out. Let's go. Within our organization, we run across people, and even if they're not an organization, just supporters as a whole. We've dealt with all types of individuals who helped us to get to where we need to be. So as Huey P. Newton talked about when he talked about survival programs, being a raft to get us to dry land, it's not the end all means, right? So I might run into a cat. This brother over here is a Nubian. This brother over here is a Christian. This brother over here is an atheist, the sister, whatever, so on and so forth. My thing is to make an effort to not demoralize them or cut them from where they at. My thing is, let me meet you where you are. So if I find you in the strip club, if that's what it is, or you on the block or whatever the case is, then we deal with points of unity. So if you say that you are a Christian, I don't have to be a part of your church or your congregation. And to be honest with you, a lot of shit that I run across, I don't even understand how some people even, relate to it. But that's neither here nor there. My enemy is imperialism. My enemy is capitalism, so on and so forth. Now, there are folks like you. And I'm saying this because even I, as a child, came up in the church. I was an altar boy. I sat in the front with the preacher. The first time I ever spoke in front of a large audience, I was 7 years old when I spoke in front of 500 people. You know what I'm saying? At a revival. You know what I mean? Now I'm furthest away from that shit. They thought I was going to be a preacher. But the thing is, even with these stories, these fables, and so on and so forth, you will find some type of principle. Now, they're the individuals themselves that fuck up the system in many cases. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just interested in knowing, like, how do we advance without necessarily throwing out the baby with the bathwater? And again, I'm not trying to win you over to change your brand, because obviously your brand works. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just, just for folks who are checking us out, how do we advance, and how do we continue to organize without necessarily giving everybody the guillotine, or giving folks who we disagree with the guillotine?
I don't agree we should give them the guillotine, but I think we need to respect their intelligence and capacity for critical thinking. If I am organizing, which I have, and there is a person who is a member of the Nuwaubian, I would have to say that is a cult that has preyed on hundreds and sexually exploited hundreds of children. And your cult founding leader is currently in prison for predation against children. So as you come to do this work, if we're digging a trench today, here's your shovel, but you can't bring that shit up in here. You cannot promote or articulate Nuwaubian ideologies, or promote and try to bring people to Nuwaubian. This is a place where we will not allow it. If you are a Christian, I follow what Malcolm said. Leave your religion at home. If you leave your religion at home, I will leave my atheism at home. But if you whip yours out and put it on the table, I'm going to whip mine out and put it on the table.
I unite with that. Biggest. I unite with that wholeheartedly. And that is
right. I don't believe in coddling people's delusions. I don't believe that we do them a credit. And I don't believe I think we harm ourselves collectively. And I think we undercut or underestimate people as a group. So
but if they're leaving it on the shelf, would you consider that coddling?
Then it's safe. I'm not going to kick in your door. As much as an atheist as I am, I've never kicked in the door of a synagogue, of a chapel. I've never went up in somebody's shrine.
Violently running up in the church.
Right. I haven't done that. I've never gone into any religious, spiritual spaces to assert or articulate my atheistic or secular position.
Right.
Not once. But if you don't leave it at home, or leave it on your shrine, or like before you come to do the work, if you want to pray, you want to pour libations, so be it. But when the work is done, like I said, you don't put yours on the table, I won't put mine on the table. But I think whenever these alien concepts or these reactionary concepts are brought forward, I believe it is our obligation to challenge them. And and it doesn't take much of a leap to say, well, this brother's a Nuwaubian, or this brother's I've organized. One of my partners for a long time here in Chicago was a Black Hebrew Israelite, and we worked together. But every time he came with that bullshit, I called him on it. Not because I thought I was better, but because I respect him and I wanted him to improve. And I'm happy to say to this day, he no longer is a member of that regressive apocalyptic cult. But when he was deep in the thralls of it, I just have to tell him, it's the same thing. When like I said, when we had the Interesting Thoughts event promotion group, and we were having, really progressive, we were bringing people together around some really positive things. We had the Ain't Nobody's Fool's Day, which was a dedication to Gil Scott-Heron. And we'd have local artists come out and either do their own interpretation of Gil Scott-Heron's work or work inspired by him. And I was like, we're going to have tofu and celery. And everybody in the group was like, no, we're going to have barbecue. This is Chicago. You know how Chicagoans eat. You've been here. You know how they like to eat.
Tofu
and I articulated my position. I was overruled. I didn't have the dictatorial power to ban it. Which if I did, I would have.
That celery ain't got no nutritional values, man. What you doing, man?
Right. So good. So we got, the tofu do balance. But anyway, all I'm saying, and water is nutrition. But all I'm saying is I articulated my position. I articulated my opposition, and we moved forward amicably. And that's what all I can do. So if you bring it, I'm going to call it out. I think our organizations throughout history have been too tolerant of bullshit within the sacred halls, and we've tolerated bullshit for the sake of unity, when the bullshit we tolerate is the number one source of the erosion and destruction of our unity and the viability of our organizations. So I, throughout, as being a student of organizing and being a student of mentors, I have to say that until I have, some evidence that being tolerant of subversive, reactionary, anti-African belief systems and ideologies within revolutionary organizations works or somehow strengthens them, I'll have to be a voice in opposition.
5 books that have influenced you as an African, as a revolutionary. If you were to say, if you were speaking to someone and you were looking to set them in the right direction, for lack of better words, right? What would be your top 5, your 5 go-tos, if you had 5 books that you?
That's hard.
Yeah.
I'm a sneak and say, I'm gonna say this counts as one book because it's the same author. Blood in My Eye and Soledad Brother. I mean, not cheat. I'm gonna go ahead and see. I already got a reputation.
Get away with that.
I'm just gonna.
You can get away with that. That's we could do that since I'm a Jacksonite. You know what I mean? Then we can rock with that.
Good. I can sneaking books in if I say books. Okay. Blood in My Eye and the 2 books by George Jackson are top. Black Power by Kwame Ture, and his name escapes me.
I be forgetting his name as well. I know exactly.
Right. Yes. That's what you get for writing a book with Kwame Ture. Who's gonna remember?
Right. It ain't gonna help.
Is the book over there? No. Okay.
You talking about the one with the well, wait, no, you talking about the black and white one. Okay.
Yeah.
Charles Hamilton. Thank you, David Silver. It was Charles Hamilton. Yeah.
Right. Wretched of the Earth, Frantz Fanon. I gotta throw a white boy in there. Forgive me. I ain't gonna throw no white boy since you only gave me 5.
Here we go right here, man. This is who I'm back on right now.
I had it on my deck. That's 2.
Yeah. Necessary.
Wretched of the Earth by Crime. I gotta say this book, because I do think there's certain components of the struggle that we severely neglect. And I think the ecological one and the destruction of the environment. So I would say Endgame by Derek Jensen. Now, I'm not a fan of Derek Jensen. I don't like this motherfucker. But if you don't like Derek Jensen, then read Dmitry Orlov and Collapse. Or if you don't like Dmitry Orlov, Michael Parenti, Tropic of Chaos. That's all one book.
Okay.
Since you picked one of those 3 books from that. And
okay, right here, man. But no.
The Dale Jones Culture Bandits, Volume 1, 2, and 3. That's one book. Am I at 5 yet?
You at 9, but keep going though.
No, I'm not.
Getting better.
Listen, bro, I am I am the most humble, cooperative brother. Nobody's more, humble and cooperative than me. So if you said 5, I'm gonna leave it at 5. But you said if it's the same author, it counts as 1.
Yeah,
and of course,
you still gave 9. But go ahead.
I can't leave off a sister, Marimba Ani.
Okay,
you can't get an autographed copy like I got from when I met the sister at the university.
I already got an autographed copy.
Okay, then both of us, we can stunt on everybody else.
Yeah,
if you can't get just because
but check it. I'm gonna go a little further. We also gave her the FTP Movement Lifetime Achievement Award.
Oh, okay.
So the first person we gave it to was what's my man name? I'm tripping. His space is in my head. Poet transition, Amiri Baraka. Okay. He got our first one, then the second and third went to at the same time, Marimba and Daruba.
I was thinking to myself initially, man, I could get to work to get that award, but I can't. I gotta give it up. I'll never get up there. Y'all, the bar's too damn high, man.
I can't even get it.
Yeah, Lord, you're right. Yeah, Lord, that bar, so the rest of us have a chance.
No doubt, man. But
put in the comments, Blueprint for Black Power by Dr. Amison Wilson. Now that's not one of my 5 because I'm just reading the comment. And then I'm going to say Urugu by Marimba as the number one, because I went back from 5 to 1. Read Urugu,
Yes.
by Dr. Marimba. Know thy enemy, know thyself type energy.
Yes. Mama Marimba is someone who, and I've been trying to get her on here. I think she's still on the continent right now. I'm not sure, but I'm sure she'll be back soon. But she's someone who folks act like they forgot about. You know what I'm saying? And she's
still with us, but then they wait for these scholars to pass. And then everybody wants to start dedicating and calling them out and dedicating their birthday. We still got a lot, like you said, Daruba. Pete O'Neill is still alive. We got way too many revolutionaries still with us.
And Marimba comes out of SNCC. You know what I'm saying? I used to go see her lecture up at the First World Alliance in Harlem. Dr. Ben, Dr. Clark, Obati Shaka, you mentioned.
He's still with us.
Yeah. Sharp, Theophila Benga, who worked with Sheikh Auntie Joe. And so many others, man, that just put in that work. And the sad thing is, in this era, everything is such a microwave situation. That just what you said right now, a few minutes ago, just saying an autographed copy of Mama Marimba's book, that's like a Reggie Jackson signing your baseball or something.
Exactly.
Right? You know what I'm saying? Folks don't even understand, but she's right here in Atlanta, right in the West End, someone that's been putting in work for decades. But definitely appreciate you you coming on. I would since you gave us 18 books.
No, I didn't. 5. Listen, I'm following the rules you set.
You said 5 in a row.
Same author, then 1, or the same subject, right? If they talk about the same subject, that's basically 1 book.
Okay, cool. Give us some films. Top 3 films.
Spirit. It's top 3.
Top 5, Diallo. Come on, man.
Spirit. Stallion of the Simmerhorn.
Okay.
4, Kirikou and the Sorceress.
Man with the Kirikou. Okay.
I love that movie.
All right. You kind of look like Kirikou on the low, though, man.
Judge Me. I don't give a shit. The Princess Bride. Fucking love that movie, man. What you want from me?
Man.
2, Spook Who Sat by the Door.
Okay.
And 1, shit. It's a lot for 1. I'm going to say Sarah Unya, but it's a subtitle. No, I'm going to say Quilombo. If I didn't say Sarah Unya, these are 2 subtitle movies because I want to appear sophisticated and educated. So I'm putting that as my top 1.5.
Definitely in the top.
1 point. My 0.5 and 0.5, Sarah Unya and Quilombo.
No doubt. Now, I did interview Sam Greenlee, who did Spook Who Sat by the Door. Now, the wild thing about that, and he was still in Chicago when he was alive.
Yeah. I had an opportunity to meet him. Great brother.
I was disappointed with the interview. I'm not going to front because when we got on the piece, man, he just started saying like, I mean, he was saying shit that I wasn't saying. It's like he saw something that I was talking about, so he automatically thought I was going to be talking about Kill Whitey. So it's just like he was saying all kinds of shit. I'm like, damn, man, like, what is that? Where's that coming from? He wasn't disrespectful. It was just kind of weird. Right. But definitely,
he's a mean old lion. That was a mean brother, but I loved him. And his denim
definitely
jacket.
Was mean. Yeah,
his denim. That's when I wasn't brave enough to wear denim jackets with jeans, but because of him, you see, bro, Diallo out here with jean pun jean. That brother be out here with a denim jacket, denim shirt, and blue jeans. I'm like, he's brave. I could do it. If he could do it, I could do it.
Come right out the 70s with no problem.
Exactly.
Hey, man, definitely appreciate you coming on. We're going to have you back on again.
Anytime.
Yeah, man. I hope y'all got an idea of who the fuck Diallo is.
I think I don't know how well I represented myself.
Hey, man, how did Diallo do? Folks in the chat. But anyway, man, definitely shout out to the good folks out there in the chat. Stay tuned to Black Power Media. Your girl Shirley said, "Thank you, great interview."
Hey,
You know what I'm saying?
you.
I think Shirley's always in your corner.
Oh yeah, I
Okay,
understand the
okay,
effect I have on the ladies.
okay. That's what it is.
Now I'm playing.
Jazzy
Let me
said
stop
thoroughly
playing.
enjoyed it,
You don't get me
but
in
he's been
trouble. Get me
awesome
out this
anyway.
thing.
Now I will keep you on now. No doubt.
If
No
y'all
doubt.
see that door swing open,
Hey, I ain't got
y'all
nothing
play
to do
too
with
much.
this. But yo, man, definitely appreciate you. Keep up the good work. You'll be
All
on
right.
tomorrow, correct?
It's every third. What? Let me pull up the calendar. It's every first and third Wednesday.
Dude, you've been on every Wednesday for the last several weeks. Now you're telling us every third and first Wednesday.
Yeah, it's every first and third Wednesday. And Skip Coon is co-hosting.
Oh, Skip's gonna be co-hosting on the next one?
Yeah.
Skip's
He's
my
gonna be
man.
the ongoing co-host. So see,
Oh, he is.
I can work with a religious fanatic.
That's gonna be hell right there.
Yeah, I can work with a delusional believer in the Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. So I
I
act
gotta
like
get
I
Skip
can't
on
work
as
with
well.
people. Huh?
Man, knock it off, man. I said I gotta
I'm
definitely get Skip
saying
on
you
as
want to
well.
make it look like I don't work with the
Me?
delusional.
I was
Well, you
looking
like,
out for
oh,
you.
brother, you got to work with these Nuwabian cult members.
Hey, man, I ain't say all that shit.
As
Yo,
long as we
listen,
all
man.
agree you in a cult, then let's get busy.
Yo, listen, man. Views and opinions. I gotta give a disclaimer for the first time. As soon as I step outside, my neighbor gonna be like, "Yeah, what you say about
Yeah.
about the mothership?"
Cults don't cultivate. We got way too many
man.
cults traipsing around our struggle, and we gotta fix
Anyway,
that, man.
Yo,
Cults don't cultivate.
Yeah, forget all that. Skip Coons, folks. Do people know that this brother's an MC?
Who, Skip Coon?
Yeah, I don't think.
Because I know you ain't. I can't rap. If I could rap, I would be sitting here, man. I'd be out there popping bottles with models.
I can imagine.
Charter jets, yeah. If it wasn't, boy, y'all lucky. I can't ball or rap. I wouldn't be in this struggle. I'd open a little school or something. Leave y'all, throw y'all some crumbs. No, I can't rap.
That's so bad.
But yeah, Skip Coon is not. He's a premier MC. Gosh.
You know, it's crazy. He had a show out here in Atlanta some years ago, and I was on the flyer, supposed to have been hosting it, and I ended up. How can I say this since we're on the screen? Anyway, this cat was talking crazy, and I wasn't nonviolent that day, so I ended up busting this dude in the mouth, and his tooth went through my hand.
Ouch!
So I ended up getting sick from his tooth. His teeth were so damn dirty, so I ended up being hospitalized and punching this dude in the mouth. So I had to call the promoter and be like, "Man, I'm not even going to be able to make the joint." So we haven't met in person yet, but like I said, I was scheduled to host that joint. So
yeah.
Anyway,
I'll be down there soon. My wife is her people's from Mississippi. She acts sophisticated. I didn't find out till later. She was actually just a Mississippi mud skipper. I thought I got me a city girl. But I'll be in Atlanta. I'm gonna be in Mississippi. I'm gonna be outside. So
okay.
Where y'all like to live, nice on. I'll be under the Mason-Dixon.
Well,
I won't be for long. I can't hang down there.
Well, Skip said Atlanta's not down south, so I don't know.
People say that. I don't know.
That's because they haven't been to Georgia. See, you can come to Atlanta. That's one thing. When you venture your ass out, you'll know you're in the South.
Yeah, I got mad respect for you Southern cats, man. Up here, I got to fight white folks that wear Birkenstocks.
Knock it off.
You down there? You be down there. That's where you be at. I ain't from Chicago.
I be in Chicago too.
I'm up here fighting white folks wearing Birkenstocks. Y'all be down there fighting white boys in steel-toed boots, militia.
I'm not violent, man. I'm not violent like King and them. I'm not violent like Diallo. But anyway, listen, man.
No, I practice nonviolence. I just haven't perfected it yet.
Okay, all right. I'm glad you got that shit right. Cool. Well, hit me up when you come to ATL, man.
Absolutely.
Maybe we can do a live show together or something.
Yeah.
And definitely appreciate your work. Continue, and we'll see you on Friday.
Yep, with Earn Your Liberation. Me trying to bring some civility.
You gonna bring some civility?
Some civility and moderate the tone.
They appreciate that, man.
I believe we're gonna have Noam Chomsky's daughter on. You asked Geechee?
No,
we're gonna have Noam Chomsky's daughter on there. So
how old is she? Like 103?
I mean, right, because he's like 1,500 years old. She got to be up there, but don't be like that.
I'm sorry, man. It's ageism.
Like that. Our guest. insulted our guests
You
before
gonna
I
tell
get
me
a chance to.
Is this you talking about not insulting your guests? Anyway,
I give mad respect. Like I said, I believe challenging people is a sign of respect. I think accepting when you see somebody saying some delusional shit and you just nod, that's disrespectful. If you see somebody saying some delusional shit and you be like, that sounds absurd, I think that's respect.
Did I say you sound absurd today? Or
no, I'm just saying when you're talking about like if somebody come and say Jesus Christ is my Lord and Savior, if you see somebody in the mosque bumping their head on the floor, at face down, ass up to the east, if you see and you don't tell them, hey brother, I don't know if that's the move, I feel that that's a sign of respect.
Diallo, get off my show. I see you later.
All right, bro. Good night.
Be safe, man.
Absolutely, you too.
No doubt. Diallo Kenyatta, we already know what it was going to be. We appreciate him coming on. Appreciate y'all for tapping in tonight. This is RSTV, you know what I mean? And we have a whole lot coming up, whole lot of good things. We appreciate you again for sharing, for liking, for subscribing to Black Power Media. Go back and check out some of the archives. We have a new show on the program as well, Daughters of the Whirlwind. If you missed last night's episode, go back and check that out. Real dope. They're the children of Bilal Sunni Ali, Fulani Sunni Ali. May she rise in power. Ahmed Obafemi, may he rise in power. These are folks who put in work that I've known for decades. Also check out yesterday's Guerrilla Intellectual University. We had Baba Bilal Sunni Ali on talking about Imam Jamil Alameen, formerly H. Rap Brown. So if you missed that, make sure you check in on that. Also, all the other shows. And if you forgot, the last Riot Starter took place last Saturday. I think it was pretty good as well with Pascal Robert. Tune in tomorrow to Remix Morning Show tomorrow morning. And we out. We'll catch y'all later on. RSTV. Be safe out there. War without terms.